Welcome to this ASQ webcast presentation sponsored by ETQ, titled Driving Quality Management Automation Success Through Robust Change Management. I'm Pablo Baez with ASQ, and introducing our speakers and launching this event, we have Liz Pardo of ETQ. Liz, I'll pass it over to you to get started.
Thanks, Pablo, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thank you to ASQ for hosting us today. Like Pablo said, I'm Liz Pardo. I'm Marketing Campaigns and Events Manager at ETQ, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Lori Morris, who is Techno-Functional Delivery Lead at Cummins Meritor, and Sherry Heckler, who's a Senior Implementation Consultant at ETQ. Today, Lori and Sherry are going to share a look into how Meritor automated quality processes and how change management is key to automation success. Lori and Sherry will have a discussion later on, diving into some of Meritor's implementation details and future plans for their QMS. So just a little background on ETQ to give you some idea of who we are. ETQ is a leading provider of cloud-native quality management software. We're driving your quality initiatives and processes to the next level. We have a broad portfolio of applications, over 40 in fact, that span the entire life cycle of quality management. This is based on 30 years of understanding our customers' needs, and we have over 700,000 users who take advantage of quality every day. We have a broad base of customers spanning many industries. You're going to get a closer look at some of those in a second. So that allows us and you to take advantage of the best learnings from a number of different industries, take advantage of those best practices and make them all your own. All that leads to a customer experience that is superior, setting you and your organization up for success, not just by using our software, but by interacting and partnering with us on your quality journey. As I mentioned, we have a broad customer base spanning a lot of different industries. You can see those here, from discrete and process manufacturing to food and beverage, pharma, biotech, med devices. Learning those best practices across industries helps us all get quality management to where it is today. And ETQ also serves a number of automotive customers, from automotive manufacturers like GM and Rivian to automotive suppliers like Meritor, Drive, McLean Fogg, and more. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Lori for her portion of this webcast.
Okay. Well, welcome to ETQ's roadmap for Meritor. Okay, so a little bit about Meritor. We serve the heavy truck industry. We're known as the axle supplier, and I have a global presence at the headquarters in Troy, Michigan. However, we were recently acquired by Cummins, so now we are Cummins Meritor. Okay, a little bit about me. I joined Meritor in 2017 to roll out ETQ Reliance. So why ETQ Reliance? Well, first, Meritor looked to Gartner. They're recognized as a leader in research on technology opportunities. And once, they start taking their advice, and then they went to interviewing Rheem and GE Transportation. And from there, they decided to invest in ETQ Reliance to reduce siloed data and manual reporting. And here's the roadmap that we have completed over the past 5 years. We have 16 processes that were converted from manual siloed information to a global system. And you'll notice one thing about this slide is that many of the modules have a picture on there. Those are modules that we have built from scratch. Though we did start out at first with out of the box and made them so highly configured that they don't look like they did when they came out of the box. So our recommendation is, open up the module, look at it, examine it, and say, okay, is there so much deviation from out of the box that maybe we should consider patch? And for user access security features, we utilize SharePoint to automatically provision employees and suppliers to access ETQ Reliance. And then on the third item, you'll notice here where it says supplier portal. So one of the key things we want to make sure that we did was limit access for the suppliers to just seeing their SCARs and their PPAP records, yet utilizing the same instance for all users. And then to protect the application, we use a NetScaler enclave solution, and that's because we have export controlled data, such as the AD problem-solving process. And then furthermore, as far as two-factor authentication, just like we do for our bank accounts, now we have that over the top. So when the user logs in, they first start out at Duo, it's the NetScaler for them, and then they land on their portal for access to ETQ Reliance. And we have 6 automated integrations: Windchill, Oracle, and then now we have a BI warehouse. In fact, ETQ has a data mart inside that warehouse where other softwares can access that information. And so we utilize a staging table method. And so what happens once a week, a query is ran for each of these sources. And then that is populated into a staging table. And then right after that, then ETQ Reliance, there is a task that runs to go out and look and see what changes are in there, and then seeds it into the application for users such as supplier profiles, product profiles, and the like. And we do have 2 automated exports. And so we have here, we use Informatica to go into the supplier materials and to export and then set it up in SharePoint. And this helps us with our supplier registration, because one of the problems we had, just like a lot of companies, Meritor is built on acquisition. So as we combine those ERP instances, would have repeats of the same supplier, but maybe at different locations. So what they did was give all the suppliers a parent ID. So now when the suppliers, when they have access to ETQ, they're seeing all the records for all their sites. And then, like I said earlier, now we have a data mart within the data warehouse, and that actually feeds the QMS dashboard. So what happens is you have the data coming in from ETQ, the data mart, which is from our database. And then we have the Oracle data, and that's mashed up together so we can get what they call SPPM and CPPM and our cost per quality metrics in a dashboard. So now I'm going to help you start your ETQ journey. And the first thing is taking ownership and becoming that product owner. So, like I said earlier, when you're getting ready to roll out a module, go to the ETQ Academy and learn about that module, and then gain an understanding of your current processes. Even if they're not documented, you have to gain that understanding if you hope to be able to escape, manual entries, manual documentation, and those information silos. Then from there, form a SIPOC. And so you got to think in terms of the internal supplier, where the information is coming from for your current processes, and who is your internal customer, who is the end user is going to use this. And think about what are those inputs to get there. You're gathering all these artifacts. What's the process to get that output? And another thing we've learned along the way is using a vision board to scope. I had a situation where I had a brand new business lead that was not familiar with ETQ. And I also had a brand new, as far as support staff for ETQ Reliance, so bringing them together. This helped in the gathering of information, we call it requirements, to be motivating the need. what change we want to bring about, who's our target users, what need do we need to resolve, and what's in it for the business. And all that focusing on outcomes to create the scope for the project. And onward from there, going to using story cards. This is an agile ritual, but it's worked very well for us. So starting here, this is when you start defining the who, the what, and the why. And in this case, and this was actually a live thing that we had done. And they wanted to be, they had a situation where the information was siloed. People were storing it on their hard drives, they were storing it on network drives, and we needed that all in one place. And also it was being stored in a third-party repository. So we needed that to bring that all together to be able to tell the story and for us all to learn. So we wanted to be able to upload all the documentation that they had as far as on paper and from the external site, and so that they could share among all the other Meritor plants. Especially there are situations where Meritor is its own supplier and customer, such in York, they're a supplier to Manning. So when you're going through audits, you know, they're a stakeholder, right? And then going on as far as what data fields, and this is where it brings in for the business, for as a whole, for the corporation to examine the global results, to learn from this, to see where there's problem areas. So we look at, okay, so they needed to upload certain documents. We need to trigger that if it was a different type of audit, then other fields would appear, and what were the data points together, and then what were the field types. And this starts to prompt those conversations. And our best practices, you know, we call it the secrets in the sauce. However, there is no secret ingredients, but this is our deliverables, our recipe that we follow. So then when we start doing the mock-up, we look at what's the workflow phases, the data input, if there's any email functionality, if having any upload, download templates, what data view. We do have some standard data views that we create, but sometimes there are other reports that they want. If we need any data integrations, if we're going to have to export this data somewhere, and then module security. And all this, you want to keep that initial release as a minimal viable product to get it in the user's hands. And we do follow a robust change management process. And so this was something that was asked of me at a user conference. And well, how do you do all this? And we get through it. So all that other stuff I just described, that is the buildup for, we have what we call a gate 1 through 3 that we deliver to the steering committee so that they can approve for us to do the work. And then we actually do the work, doing in sprints and demos along with the test plan. And then once we get the sign off on the demo that we did through the development, then we go to the change control board and we present all our documentation, or, implementation proposal, the milestone journey, the tests, dev test cycles, what our plan is going to be for UAT, and then the sign-offs. And then we from there, we promote it to our QA environment, run UAT, we get the sign-off from business again. And then if there's anybody that's going to have to sustain this, go transferring from the project team to the support team and to the help desk. We do knowledge transfer sessions. And once all that's completed, then we go back to the steering committee for that go, no-go decision. And then after that, they have approved, then we go to what they call a change approval board. We're presenting all the results from the gate 4-5 as far as those approvals, the UAT results, our end user communication plan, and then for the outage window. And then we move on to actually implementing it. And for a while, we go in what they call a hypercare state. We're monitoring tickets, see if there's any issues, and hope our goal is not to have any emergency change orders, meaning we didn't have any significant functionality issues. And once we get through that and we've cleared and we look like we're ready for a steady state, then we go back to the steering committee and we get approval to close the project. So what we're doing is we're incorporating those project management and ITIL protocols using the Agile rituals to deliver the product. Okay, on to our Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. That was great. It just goes to show you like how much just goes into the pre-work, you know? So now I would like to introduce Sherry Heckler, who is our senior implementation consultant. Sherry, you've done a lot of work with a lot of different customers. What stands out to you, in your opinion, in Meritor's implementation specifically?
So I would say that Meritor has really taken advantage of all the flexibility and the configuration that you're allowed to do in Reliance to pull in many of their processes into the system in a pretty short period of time. So, you know, over the course of the past few years, they've implemented several modules, and they're not afraid to go in there and create things from scratch to really make it their own. Lori?
Awesome. And
Oh, no.
go ahead, Sherry.
Oh, I had a few questions for Lori, if that's okay.
Sure.
So how many people are involved in the management of your solution?
3 from IT and from the business.
How many users do you have?
We have over 400 users and approximately 125 of those are suppliers.
How are you using ETQ with those suppliers?
Okay, so we have registered supplier users that have access to their assigned records in the SCAR and the PPAP. So what happens when the SCAR and the PPAP are set up by someone internally at Meritor, then it's assigned to the supplier to complete the process.
Did you face any challenges in allowing supplier access into the ETQ instance?
Yes, so one of those, and you know, it's always the fear, you know, when they say that users are the worst threat for security. So what has happened is that users have been sharing their access credentials among their coworkers, or someone has left. I had kind of a surprise one day and was helping somebody with their access. So we implemented Duo two-factor authentication where they have to use their cell phone to authenticate or a USB code as a security measure.
Are you considering going to the cloud?
Yes, we are, but we wanted to first get through the upgrade. So we would be caught up with the SaaS solution that's offered by ETQ, which is in the Amazon Web Services. However, we would have to implement the government cloud due to the export controlled data regulations.
What is ETQ integrated with?
Oracle, Windchill, a master data warehouse, and SharePoint through Informatica. And then, like I had said when I was going through the deck, is that now we have an ETQ data mart that feeds a click dashboard, which is combined with the master data to calculate the SPPM, CPPM, and the cost per quality metrics.
How long is the typical timeline for one of the built from scratch modules?
Well, there's actually factors that come into that. Is the complexity and the speed of the requirements gathering from business, the availability of end users, because realize they do have a day job. You know, they're out there on the factory floor, but they are the end users. Otherwise, we, from beginning to end to release, that initial release and following the change management process rigor, it's about 6 weeks. Now, not all of that every day is working. I mean, there is, I always have to look at, okay, when's my peer review so I can get to CCB. And before all that, you know, I've got to do the build up to get to that first gate review to get in front of the steering committee so we can just get to there. And once we start that work and we're doing dev demos and then we got business signed off, okay, then I have to do, okay, now I got to organize a gate 4 or 5. Now I got to go to cab. So there's all those other things that's all time. They're on certain days. So I always got to look at, okay, we got the work done now. Okay, Friday, what do we got to do? What do we got to do Monday? And so there's that delay. And the other thing we run into, if there is a new automated data integration that's required, that could slow us down a bit. But generally, everything going well, and we don't have any new data integrations, we can do it in 6 weeks.
What's next in your ETQ journey?
Additional integrations. In fact, I had just introduced a new integration out of Windchill, and they said, Lori, that's great, we want more. So they're looking for those data exchanges between Windchill and ETQ. And Windchill is our engineering software. And we would use that on both the PPAP modules. So we have 2 PPAP modules, the customer PPAP repository, as far as what we submit to our customers, and the supplier PPAP.
Thank you, Lori. That was excellent responses. Very informative.
Thank you both so much. Lori, thank you again for being part of this, and Sherry, amazing work as well. I just wanted to give everyone a quick reminder. We do have some additional resources on our website. You can go to etq.com/etq-resources. We have all kinds of webinar recordings, we have white papers, we have guides, we have lots of case studies. So definitely make sure to check that out. Now, Pablo, I think you have a couple of things to say before we wrap this up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz, Sherry, and Lori, for taking the time to share this valuable and instructional presentation, and to ETQ for bringing together this webcast and speakers for our members at ASQ. For those of you that want to learn more about the speakers for ETQ, like we mentioned here, you can email them at emarketing@etq.com your questions. You can check out their website, as they just mentioned. That includes so much information and so many resources, including, like she said, case studies, reports, webinars, etc. And that's at etq.com/etq-resources. To learn more about the topics of quality management and change management, etc., you can go to asq.org and visit our global search, and that's asq.org/search. And there we have quality journals, case studies, courses, and webcasts like this one. All right, well, thanks to everybody and our sponsor ETQ, and we'll see you at our next webcast event.